All right, we'll get started. So this week there were some big developments. I don't know if people keep up with the federal chair, Jerome Powell, and when they're meeting. I would suggest everybody start taking a real interest in that because he's going to be directly affecting your life for the next 12 to 16 months or more. They decided to go up with the interest rates. They had a meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. It's something they do every year. And it wasn't an official Fed meeting, but it was kind of a big talking point for him. I don't know if people realize that's one of the richest cities or states in the country. So he talks there every year, and he basically said that for the foreseeable future, through 2024, we're going to basically be getting a rate hike, an interest rate hike of 0.50 to 0.75 basis points, and that's really a lot. And they said they want neutral to be at 4%. So to give you an example, when rates were down and people were getting 2% and 3% interest rates, it was the Fed was giving the money to the bank at 0 to 1%. So now the bank is going to be getting it at 4%, and then they tack on their 2 to 3% when they loan it out to you or more. So that's why everybody watches the Federal Reserve. They don't necessarily control the interest rates directly, but they control what the bank gets. And the bank from there goes on ahead and they add on their interest or for their service charge and everything when they loan out the money. So that's why you see sometimes some banks will, have a 4% interest rate, and then one will have 4.25 and another one will have 4.5. That's why you got to shop around a little bit. But that's besides the point because none of that's coming back for a while. And as far as any kind of real estate or anything like that, if you have something that you're getting ready to sell or you're on the fence about, it's probably a good time to go on ahead and make a decision on whether you're going to keep it for the next 5 to 10 years or get rid of it now because I think this puppy's going to come down a lot. In '08, I think we came down almost half, and they're saying the same thing now. But in '08, it happened a lot faster. Like it was like boom overnight. This time they're trying to slowly do it, but at some point he's gonna have to step on the gas, especially with everything going on with them giving out another stimulus. It's good that people are getting their student loans paid off, but in my opinion, that would have been served better by just giving out a stimulus check and letting people pay off what they want, how they wanted to pay it off, or maybe you wanted to pay off your credit cards instead of your student loan. And then a lot of the people who actually need the money, um, me and Al were talking about this. They're they're not employed. They don't have student loans because they didn't go to college. So the people that are going to get hurt by the interest rate stuff didn't get the money. So I don't know why he did that, but it is going to add to the inflation a little bit. Probably won't see it this next round, but definitely towards the end of the year or early next year. And if we don't have a good fourth quarter with Christmas, it's really going to go start getting bad quick. And how that relates to you as far as getting your credit and everything together is you want to get your credit cards and your business funding and your home equity line of credits. You want to get all of that now because they're going to tighten up and they may even come back when it starts going down next year. And in 2024, they may cut your credit card limits. So it would be wise to get yourself into some zero APR cards, especially anything with some rewards. If you got high balances, I will pay them down so you don't get caught on the flip side of that. Meaning, if you got yourself like a 30 or $40,000 credit limit on the card, and you got it at your balance up at 20 or 30,000, well, they may drop it down to 25,000. Now you're in the red in order to keep the card open, and that happens too. So, and then I also would get online on YouTube and start listening to like Al Jazeera, um, NPR news. Start listening to some of these alternative news sources so you guys can kind of see what's going on in other countries. Because I think what's going to make it so difficult this time is it's going to be like a worldwide collapse. So first one to the ground will be the first one up. but they're also jostling for resources and the shipping lanes and all kind of stuff like that. So everything's kind of in a whirlwind right now, especially with China and Russia are kind of trying to cut us off with the dollar as far as it being the exchange currency for oil. So they're agreeing to start paying each other in rubles, and that's gonna have a big effect too. So I would honestly take like a lot of time and really start researching your plan out and what you're gonna do. Because if you can get ahead of this thing and you're in the right position, when a lot of the property values and stuff fall, you're gonna be able to pick up the same house you were looking at for half the price. Unless you're where you're at and you plan on staying there and you're fine riding it out, then so be it. But if you had any plans on moving in the next couple of years or anything like that, or you got in and you got a high interest rate, you're going to be stuck with it for a while. And people are going to even look back on this 5% and say this was a great deal. So Veronica asked me last time to cover a little bit of that and how it affects you having your credit cards and all that stuff in the time frame. So I did a little bit of studying, and that's what they're based. That's what's out there for now. It is subject to change. Things happen, but for the foreseeable future, um, he's basically going to slow the economy all the way down until it breaks, and that's when you're going to see a lot of the news channels start saying depression and recession, which right now they're saying we're in a recession, but we've been in one since November. I covered that a few months ago, and now they're on the news saying it, but you're going to start hearing them say depression. And it has to happen, but knowing is half the battle and being prepared. So just to cover the economy a little bit. Um, so what we got today, we got our trust specialist Al on, and I wanted to let him introduce himself and kind of talk about the importance of the trust and what some of the benefits are in having a trust and why you want to have it structured a certain way. Are you there, Al?
Yeah, I'm right here. Hey, how's everybody doing? My name
All
is
right.
Al Scott, and I've worked with a lot of groups and stuff where we've did a lot of study and work on trust. And I just have a few things that I like to tell people to get you pointed in the right direction. But there is one thing about that, Tobias, that you were saying about the credit thing that I'd like to add on when first one up, first one down, and like he's saying, if you have an 800 credit score, 750, well, the banks, when this thing comes back around, the banks always start off with A paper. So you kind of want to be in that position of A paper um, when the depression or recession starts to bounce back. You'll be the first one there while all the property values are low. And that really does bring up the fact of having a trust, because what you want to do is you want to be able to have a buffer in between you and the system, in between you and all of this damage that's going to happen to people right now. Most of the people who have trust have companies and their assets are insured, so they're not going to have trouble. They're actually going to have a windfall out of this. So, that's kind of what we were headed with. Is there anything in particular, Tobias, that you wanted me to get started with?
No, just go ahead and go in and give them some knowledge about trust and why it's important, because I think a lot of people don't realize how important being structured right with your personal credit, your business credit, and your trust, how that benefits them, even tax wise.
Well, yeah, that's the whole structure to everything. Actually, when we were 18 years old and we left our home to venture out here, this is how we actually should have been set up. Even when we got our first job, that job, we should have never had to use our social security number to do that. We should have used the trust number, and then now all the things you hear about people worrying about paying taxes, well, you now no longer pay taxes. That was our first mistake when we left the home without a trust set up with an LLC or C corp set up under it, which we would have done all our business through. Uh, a lot about how I started looking at this is I had property. Me and Tobias, we owned a lot of property before the last crash in 2008, and noticing some of the same things were occurring in the economy. I started to do research on the economic cycles and how the wealthy are affected by that. Why aren't they losing everything? So what we found out is trust and estate and trust planning is their number one way to hold on to their assets, even in times of recession, COVID. That trust will protect you against the harm that could come your way. Remember, when you're under a trust, let's say you have a house, for instance. When your house is under trust, that house is insured. Say something like COVID comes around and you're not able to pay your home. Well, you have an insurance policy. See what's happening to us now when you're outside of the trust, you lose your home, even though you're paying principal and interest insurance, you're paying that to cover the bank side of it. When you're as an individual, you're not allowed to cover your side of it through insurance. A trust can do that.
And if you guys are looking like in your loan packages, if you have bought a home or you just recently go through your loan packages, if you bought a house or in the last 2 to 3 years, they offered you an owner's policy and it's additional, but most people turn that down because they say, oh, I already got title insurance. Go look up what an owner's policy is, and they don't force you to get it. It's optional and it's extra money, but that owner's policy is to cover you. Well, it's the same thing with the trust. Your trust, you have an owner's policy, or in all your assets are covered. It may cost you a little bit of money monthly, but if, like Al said, if something happens, then boom, you're covered. At least you got your house. They'll pay your house whatever the balance is off, and you don't have to leave. And you can always go and refinance if you want to,
Yeah,
but you
exactly.
just got a free house,
You actually got a free house. So
and
so that's the type of things you would like to happen to you when bad things happen. You benefit, and that's all about structure and setup. Go ahead with what you're saying, because
no, I was going to say the same thing that you were saying.
yes,